Hey, John, founder of RocketForms here. So let's continue the video series on building your form. In the first video, we talked about settings and we covered all the different settings inside of the form that you can adjust. So definitely go back and check that and check out the settings video if you haven't had a chance. In this video, we're going to be covering the design of your form. Now, a few reminders. When it comes to design, there's two types of styles to choose from. You have the enhanced form, which looks like this. And again, I just called this enhanced form because I couldn't think of a better name. And you also have the chat style form. And the name for this one makes sense because this form looks like a chat style form. And this is how the chat style form looks. So think about the type of form that you want. And then I suggest when you get started, you start with a template and start from there. So we have templates for both chat and enhanced style forms. But when you do come into design, you can choose your template style and you can switch between the two. So with enhanced form, there's a few more settings that you can change as opposed to chat style form. So we'll cover both in the design section. And then with that said, just a couple more things to point out before we dive into design. You can update the design on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side, you should see most of the design updates get reflected in real time. This is not to scale. So to see it to scale, you would need to preview the form, review it on your site. And also, not all of these changes will be reflected in this real-time view, so just keep that in mind. We're working out some kinks there. And then to get to the steps, when you're trying to see the design of a step, come down here to the step layout view and just click into a step. So if I want to change, let's say, the zip code design, I would click into that, and then this pulls up the zip code so I can see what it looks like. So let's go back to design, and we'll start with the chat style form. So there's a few things in here that we're going to bypass because these apply to the enhanced form, and we need to kind of like hide some things based on the template style that you're looking at. There's some work we have to do here, but I'll show you the key things to use. So when it comes to the chat style form, hide header does not apply. Back button, so you can add in a back button, and you have a lot of control for like where this will appear on the form. You can control the color, the text color, the background color of the button, the size, the padding, the width. So like you'll see it here. You can even take the back button and move it down to the bottom. And then let's say I want it to be 50%. So like you can see I'm making it smaller. I can change the color so it's not blue. And then maybe I want the padding to be, or the radius, like maybe I want this to be rounder. So I could set the radius to like 10. I mean, go pretty high in terms of radius. So that's how you do the back button. I usually don't use back buttons unless it's more of a survey form or like a longer form with a ton of questions. It just really depends. So there's the back button. Now the title, so you'll see that this is company name and it's reflected right here. So for the chat style form, I like to go with something that's kind of like friendly looking. Like for this one, I said, Joe, your local pest control guy. So I could go for the title and say, Mary, it's Mary from company, or like Mary, your local cleaner. So I'll just say Mary for now. So then the headline section, get a fast free quote, is right here. And if we look at the headline, the reason for this in the chat style form is because it's a good like way to reinforce what the person's going to get as they're going through the form. So like as you're going through, you're seeing that you're going to get a fast free quote. It's a subtle reminder. When we first launched Rocket Forms with this style form, we actually did not have these headlines. And we found that as people went through, they would often kind of forget why they were going through the process to begin with. Surprisingly, they'd forget that. I don't know why. They just got started, but it's pretty crazy how that happens. So what we did was we added in this headline feature as a reminder to why they're submitting the quote and to what they're getting. So that's the headline feature. So I always suggest making it something like what you're going to get. It could be a consultation, like get your free consultation, your coaching session, your quote, something like that. You can adjust the headline font color. I typically leave it as like a darker color. Now the step heading section, this is where you can control like this section. What is your zip code? So it's the question. Let me go to another step in here. So we'll go to the intro question. Actually, let's go to service type. So we're in service type. So if you want to control this section, that's all done within the step heading section. The step subheading, so the chat style form does not have a subheading at the moment. So this section actually needs to be hidden. It's only available for the enhanced form. So we're going to make an adjustment where when you're looking at chat style, you won't see the step subheading at the moment. Just bypass this for now. But response font size, you can change this. So right now I have it set to 19. If I change that, it will update. You can adjust the font size on mobile, font weight, response padding to create more padding between the buttons. So that is it in terms of the button color. Just going down here, you can adjust some things on the thank you step. And then social proof is right down here. So as you see, there's some social proof information. If you don't want the social proof to appear, then you would just hide it. And as you can see, it went away. And then you can adjust the label, the social proof text. And the cool thing about social proof is each time somebody submits the form, it will actually go up in real time. So the default count is just a way to see the social proof. So if you want it to be a bit higher, you can add in your own number. And then you can adjust this text color. And then there's some progress bar stuff here. So if you don't want to show the progress bar, just hide it. If you do want to show it, then enable it there. So the design for the chat style is super straightforward. You get control over like the headline, the background graphic, and some other information in here, and the colors. You cannot set a background graphic or control the size of the form for chat style. If you want more control, then you can switch over to enhanced form. So with the enhanced form, there's quite a bit more you can do design-wise. So let's just start from the top down. So as you can see to the right, the enhanced form also has the ability to have that chat style look to it, but most people don't tend to use it for the enhanced form. So let's say you want to hide this picture of Mary. To do that, you would actually have to go into settings. So this is a bit of a mistake on my side. We need to move this feature into design. So go to settings for now, and then go down to the hide avatar. Where is it? Yeah, right here, and click on and enable this so it's hidden. Hit save. And then if we preview the form, you should see that the avatar image is hidden. So now the form just consists of a headline and the question and the response. So if we go back to design, again, that feature will be moved into design soon. So if we go back to design, let's say you want to completely remove the header, you can click on hide header, hit save, and then this should remove the header. So you may not want the header if you're embedding the form right on the page. So that's one instance where you might want to hide the header. If you refresh this. All right, so the screen is refreshed, and this is a case where the real-time version is not updating to show that the header is hidden. But for now, I'm just going to keep the header here. And as you can see, you can add in a back button. And it works the same way. You can adjust all of the design settings with the back button and move it. Again, I typically tend not to use the back button. And then one of the things that you can do with the enhanced form that you can't with the chat style form is that you can set the form height on pop-up, the form height and width on pop-up. So let's say I want the form to be 65% tall and 55% of the page high. I can set that and hit save, and then let's see how this will look. So that won't be reflected in the real-time preview. You have to go to this preview to see it, and then let's open the pop-up, and you'll see that the form is now smaller. So that is how that works. Just going down a bit more, you can adjust the top background color. So if I didn't want the top background to be white, I can make it like a red. I'm going to leave it as white. And you can even add in a graphic to the top background. I typically don't do that. So the bottom background. So let's talk about adding a graphic to the bottom background. So in this form, you'll see that there's this graphic of someone cleaning a window, and it looks like a guy vacuuming. So to add in your own background graphic, toggle the switch to the on position to expand the section, and then you'll see you can upload like a screenshot or something into this section, I usually get my background graphics from Canva, and I just upload them in. And you'll also need to, when you do that, go to the bottom background color section and adjust the transparency down. Because if you have a background color like all the way up in terms of transparency, you won't see the graphic in the background. And then if it's all the way down like this, it becomes really hard to read the question text. So what I'll typically do is choose a dark color, either like in this case it's like a darker shade of blue, but typically like a black type of shade like that. And then I'll set the transparency to be like around 70 to 80%. That seems a bit dark. So maybe 70%, 75%, like that. And then that's how you have a nice background graphic while still making it possible to read the text on the screen. So let's say that I don't want this background here. I'm just going to hit clear. And then that removed the background. And then I'll change the color to like some sort of shade of blue, maybe. I feel like blue kind of represents cleaning. So I'm not finding a shade of blue that I like. We'll just go with this color so we can move on. So that's how you do that. Let me save this real quick. So I always like to save my changes as I'm going down. You can, so beyond background, you can adjust the headline text. So the headline is right here. So you can hide the headline text, which will completely remove it from the top headline. You can hide the headline on the embedded form as well. And then you can change the headline. So if I wanted this to say something like get a free consultation, you'll see that the headline changed, or like get a discount or free coaching session, depending on, again, like what type of form you're creating here. I'll keep this as get a free quote. And then you can adjust the headline font color and size. So if I wanted this to be a bit smaller, it does seem kind of big, I'll put it down to 20 pixels. And then on mobile, 20 seems a bit large too, so I'll knock that down to like 15 pixels. So again, like mobile font size won't show up here. You would actually need to preview it on a mobile device to see that change in real time. You can also adjust the font weight. So if you want this to be a bit stronger, you can adjust the font weight from 600 to like 900. And then as you can see, it's somewhat bolder. And then just coming down a bit more, the step heading is referring to this section right here. So essentially the question. So if I wanted the font color to be red, I just changed it by doing that. I'm going to push it back to white. And then headline font size, you can adjust font size on mobile. Just like this headline up here, you can play around with the font size on desktop and mobile, and the font weight. The step subheading. Now, if you remember when we were covering the chat style form, I said that the step subheading did not work with chat style form, but it does work with the enhanced form. And this is the step subheading. So sometimes you might want to add a subheading to make it more clear about like what to do, or to provide some additional instruction or incentive to keep the person moving through the form. And in this case, I like to make the step subheading smaller and a little lighter in terms of the color. So just like with the headline question text, you can also adjust the step subline text right in this section. So you can adjust the font size, color, the size on mobile, and the weight. So if I wanted this to be a bit lighter, I can knock it down to 400. And if I want it to be darker, I could put up to 900, but I prefer to keep it light. So I'm going to save this before we get into response styling. All right, let's come back down to response styling. Where is it? So response styling, we'll come back to grid width in a moment. Let's look at response font size. So response font size is referring to the size of the button. So if I wanted this home and business text to be larger, I could just bump it up. So I'll put it back to the way it was. I don't remember what it was. I'll just make it 17. You can adjust the font size on mobile as well. You can adjust the font weight. So if I wanted the button colors to be like a thicker type of font, I could bump it up to 900. And then you can adjust the button color on hover as well, and the button border color. So I'm going to save this because I like this color blue, but let's say that I wanted to make it green. As you can see, that's actually kind of a nice color green. So let's go with that. And then I'm going to make the hover color a darker shade of green. So I'll just paste this color in and kind of drop that down to there. And then the text color we're going to leave as white. The border color, we'll make it green. And then border radius. So let's say that you want these buttons to be like much more rounded. To do that, just go to the button border radius and set it to like 50. And as you can see now, they're more rounded. If I set it to 0, then they should go back to the default type of look. So we'll go with 50 and we'll make these ones round. And then going down a bit more, so let's save this because I want to jump into another step to show you the thank you step section. So just going into the thank you step. So let's look at the thank you step. So the thank you step, sometimes you need to adjust the design of it because you can see here that the thank you text is black and that you can barely read that. So let's go back to design and we'll go all the way down to the thank you step and make some adjustments. So how do we change this dark text to make it like a lighter, I guess, white? Well, you go to this thank you step font color and come right in here and just bump up the color so it's readable. So we'll make it like a white type of color right there. Oops. All right, so that's white. And then the dark close button, this essentially will just change this button so it works on a dark screen or a light screen. So if this background was white, this button like this would be hard to see because as you can see, it says close and the close color is white. So white on white would clash. So assuming this background color was a light color or a white, you would just flip the switch to on and then the dark close button would appear like that. I'm going to leave it like that. And then you can adjust like the thank you step font weight and all the same stuff that you can adjust up here. And then just coming down a bit more, let's go back to one of the steps. Let's go to the zip code step. So here's the zip code. The social proof text. So we'll go back to design. And assuming that you want to have social proof to begin with, you would come down here and you can adjust all of the social proof text, the text color. So if I wanted the social proof text color to be more of like a white shade, I could go like that in the social proof text color. And finally, you can hide the progress bar as well as adjust the progress bar color. So if I want the progress bar color to be like red or something, then I can make it that color. So that is the design of your form. So this is what we changed the form to. Now let's look at it in preview mode. So here's how the form looks. And then if we open up the pop-up, you'll see that it looks kind of weird as a pop-up because the background color is transparent. So I must have left the transparent background on. So let's troubleshoot this. I'll go into the bottom background color section, which is right up here. And then, yeah, you'll see that I have the background set below 100% because at the time we had a graphic in the background. So let's bump that up to 100%, save it, and then we'll preview the form again. So that looks better on the embedded version. Let's look at the pop-up. So yeah, so now you can see that the pop-up version is looking better. You cannot see behind it. And then if I scroll through, so then let's say that I'm looking at this form and I just feel like it needs to be longer. I can come back in here and adjust the height. So maybe I want to bump it up to 70%, the form height, hit save, and then let's see how this looks. So it feels a little better now that I bumped up the height. So that is how you adjust the design of your form. And at this point, I think we're pretty much done with design. There's more we're going to incorporate into design. We'll give you a way soon to dive into the actual code and make deeper changes if you have the need. But for now, that's all we had to talk about with design. So we've covered settings, design, And then in the next video, we're going to talk about steps. Now, before we jump to steps, if you need help at all with settings or design, just shoot us a message and I'm happy to help you out. I'll see you in the next video.